Have you ever noticed how A-levels have a way of making even the smartest students question everything they thought they knew about themselves? It's 2 a.m. You're staring at a single chemistry mechanism, just one reaction. You've been looking at it for 40 minutes. Your eyes are bloodshot. The caffeine has stopped working. Your phone keeps buzzing with notifications. Meanwhile, your social media feed is flooded with people posting aesthetic study setups, revision time lapses, and captions like 5 hours of productive studying done. And then the thought arrives, the one nobody likes to admit. I got the A stars in O levels, so why does this suddenly feel impossible? Maybe I'm just not smart enough for this. No, you're not lazy. You're not losing your intelligence. And you're definitely not the only one thinking this. Welcome to the A-level trap. Welcome back to Ivy Craft, your unfair advantage in academic success. If you've been studying for brutal hours only to open your results and wonder why your marks don't reflect your effort, this video is for you. Because today we're unpacking why A-levels feel like running headfirst into a brick wall, and more importantly, how students who achieve straight A's learn to climb over it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your old study methods stopped working, how to adapt to the hidden rules of A-level exams, and how to launch the ultimate academic comeback. Because the truth is this, A-levels aren't designed to reward effort alone, they reward strategy. The jump from O-levels to A-levels isn't just more content, it's a complete structural shift in how your brain is tested. O-levels often reward recognition and memory. Highlight the textbook. Memorize the definition of homeostasis. Recall the stages of plant reproduction. Learn enough model answers, and you can do extremely well. A-levels are different. A-level biology asks you to interpret unfamiliar data from experiments you've never seen before. A-level chemistry gives you reactions wrapped inside strange contexts and expects you to apply principles rather than repeat notes. A-level physics disguises familiar equations inside scenarios that initially look completely alien. Examiners don't care whether you can recite Le Chatelier's principle. They care whether you can apply it to a bizarre industrial process while the clock is counting down and your stress levels are skyrocketing. In other words, they don't test what you've memorized, they test whether you can think. That's why so many high-achieving O-level students suddenly feel average, not because they became less intelligent overnight, but because they're trying to win a different game using old rules. So how do you systematically beat this? Let's break down 3 highly specific strategies that top-performing A-level students use to secure those A's and A stars, and stay until the third one, because it's the psychological scalpel that permanently fixes the mistakes most students repeat all year. Tip number 1, reverse engineer the mark scheme from day one. Most students treat past papers like final boss battles. They revise for weeks, attempt a paper, get 42%, feel devastated, convince themselves they're terrible at the subject, then shove the paper into a drawer and never look at it again. That is a catastrophic waste. The mark scheme isn't there merely to judge you, it's there to teach you. In fact, the mark scheme is one of the most valuable textbooks you'll ever use. Open a yearly chemistry paper today, even if it's on topics your teacher hasn't finished covering. Ignore the fear. Look directly at how marks are awarded. You'll notice something fascinating. Examiners are not looking for beautiful prose, they are robotic word detectors scanning for trigger phrases. Here's a biology example. A question asks why a potted plant wilts on a hot day. You write, because water is lost from the leaves. Scientifically correct, but 0 marks. The mark scheme wants the word transpiration. Higher marks unlock when you discuss the cohesion tension mechanism. You understood the science, but you failed the linguistic transaction. The examiner wasn't marking your understanding, they were marking whether you translated that understanding into the language they recognize. The same applies in physics. Suppose you're defining a baryon. You write, a particle that makes up matter. Too vague. The examiner wants a hadron composed of 3 quarks. Precision wins marks. So here's your mission. Build a trigger word dictionary. Every time you encounter a phrase that repeatedly appears in mark schemes, record it. Biology terminology, chemistry definitions, physics phrasing. Train yourself to speak the examiner's language, because once you do, your marks begin to climb almost immediately. Tip number 2, the dueling Chrono blurting system. You've probably heard people online talk about blurting. Read, close the book, write what you remember, then fill in the gaps. You probably know the drill. Useful? Yes. But here's the upgraded version, the surgical version. Choose a brutal topic like translocation or nuclear decay. Set a timer for exactly 4 minutes. Read actively, focus intensely, then close everything. No peeking. Now set another timer for 3 minutes. Using bright red ink, write absolutely everything you can remember. Definitions, processes, equations, diagrams, even half-finished thoughts. Keep writing. When the timer goes off, stop immediately, even if you're in the middle of a sentence. Here's the important part. Your brain now hates the fact that the task feels incomplete. It's like having dozens of browser tabs left open. Take a blue pen, open your notes, write only what you missed directly between your red points, nothing more. Why is this so effective? Because of something psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain remembers unfinished tasks better than completed ones. Those blue corrections become unresolved puzzles. Instead of passively rereading information for the 5th time, you're actively identifying gaps and forcing your brain to close them. It transforms revision from recognition into retrieval, and retrieval is where long-term memory is built. The first few times you do this, it feels uncomfortable. Good. Learning isn't supposed to feel like rereading highlighted pages. It's supposed to feel like thinking. Tip 3. The micromark scheme. This strategy might be the single biggest difference between students who plateau and students who improve relentlessly. Imagine you get a redox titration question wrong. What's the normal reaction? Glance at the solution, say, "Oh, that makes sense," move on. Promise yourself you'll remember next time, then repeat the exact same mistake 2 weeks later. You didn't learn from the error, you simply witnessed it. Instead, buy a small notebook or plain paper sheets, nothing fancy. This notebook or these sheets have one purpose: mistakes, only mistakes. Here's a physics example. You calculate Young modulus correctly, but you lose marks on units. Don't write, "Got units wrong," that's useless. Create 3 columns. Column 1, what I wrote. Here, newtons per square meter. Column 2, what the mark scheme wanted. Pascals. Column 3, the rule. Stress divided by strain is expressed in SI units as pascals. In biology, track command word mistakes. The question said suggest, I answered as if it said describe. In chemistry, forgot state symbols. Missed the significance of equilibrium conditions. Didn't include the catalyst's role. Every mistake becomes data, and data reveals patterns. Review this diary for 15 minutes every morning before engaging with new content. This is cognitive inoculation. You build immunity against your own mistakes before stepping into the exam hall, and here's what nobody tells you. The students you admire aren't necessarily making fewer mistakes, they're simply collecting them more effectively. They turn every lost mark into future marks gained. So if you're sitting there feeling overwhelmed, if your confidence has taken a hit, if you're wondering why A-levels suddenly made you doubt yourself, remember this. A-levels are designed to weed people out, but it doesn't have to weed you out. It is not a measure of your worth. It is not a verdict on your intelligence. It is a test of adaptation, a test of whether you're willing to change your approach when the old one stops working. Now you know the linguistic game hidden inside mark schemes. You have the dual-link memory lock. You're armed with your error diary. You're no longer relying on hope. You're operating with strategy. You're not working harder, you're working surgically. And maybe, just maybe, the version of you watching this at 2 a.m. isn't failing at all. Maybe they're simply one system away from succeeding. If this blueprint brought you clarity, hit subscribe and join the Ivy Craft community. Because you don't have to navigate A-level biology, chemistry, and physics alone. Let's conquer these exams together. One comeback at a time. That's it for now. We'll see you in the next Ivy Craft blueprint.